You're listening to a Mash Those Buttons podcast. Visit mashthosebuttons.com for a full podcast schedule.
Cargo secured. Extraction complete. Intelligent System Analytic Computer is activated. All ISAC systems are confirmed online. Data scanned. Downloading files.
What's up, guys? You listen to episode 129 of SITREP Radio, giving you the news and other happenings in the world of The Division. This week, we're talking about world building for The Division 2. First, my name is Mike. Joining me as always are my co-hosts, Robert and Luke.
Hello.
Hello.
I hope you both have had an awesome week, and welcome to any listeners of the show. Let's get down to some news.
State of the game.
Okay, so there was no state of the game this week. However, there are some events going on in the Division community. Luke, what is happening?
This week, it started on Monday and runs all the way through to Sunday. It's double proficiency caches. And then from Monday, it's Global Event Blackout restarting. And that's live for a whole week.
Woo!
Woo!
Possibly the best year in the game,
Possibly, or
in my opinion.
does your opinion count?
No,
I mean, it is being recorded, so...
no one cares what I think.
It's on the internet. You can't take it back now.
Disagree.
We can get it edited out. It's fine.
I said possibly, so it's
Yeah, but
covered.
we could edit that bit out as well.
Oh no.
You sound really sad. What is wrong with you?
I don't like having an opinion.
I know what your trouble is. You've not had a drink.
Don't make me have an opinion.
What, are you saying he's sober for this episode? That's not news. That's not Division news. It's just general.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. Rob sober this week.
However, we did get some interesting news instead. Starting first with the first look at a comic that is being released by Dark Horse Comics called The Division Extremis Malice. The front cover has been revealed, as well as the synopsis, and it looks to be not only expanding the world of the Division, but it looks like we're going to get quite a bit of lore behind it as well. Guys, what do you think of, I guess, the cover in general, or the fact that we're even getting a comic?
I'm really excited for these. I googled what Extremis Malice means. First of all, it came up with malice meaning gardener, because that's what it means in Indian, apparently. So I just went to, I thought it might say extreme gardener, but apparently it doesn't.
Luke's face right now.
The Division Extreme Gardener.
No, in Latin it means end bad.
Hold on, wait. Like, have you seen Washington, D.C. in the Division 2? They need an extreme gardener. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I suppose 7 months of the wildlife just doing what the fuck it wants to. Yeah, you would need a pretty extreme gardener. But do they have to be government trained?
It's fine. Just get Alan Titchmarsh.
I'm just imagine a shade tech shovel. And what abilities it would give you. The cover looks awesome though. There looks like there's L&B, and then there's a guy at the bottom which I don't recognize what faction he's from. And then you've got like Chinatown sort of buildings. Yeah, it looks cool. I'm guessing the main dude is the guy.
Division
Is the agent the story's about.
He's wearing the watch.
He's
So
got the watch on. And he's rocking that sweet crossbow.
But yeah, it's taken place a couple of months after the attack on New York, and it's apparently during a mission gone horribly wrong, where a partner is killed, and Dunn, who is, I would guess, is the main character of the story and is on the front cover, vows to track down the mysterious woman who is responsible for his partner's death. And he's going to uncover a grave threat to a nation already on the brink of total collapse. They love that phrase, don't they? A nation on the brink of collapse. I'm pretty sure that was for like the Division 1 as well. Which would make sense because we find out in a article up on the official Tom Clancy's The Division website, there was a very small interview with the author of the comic series, Christopher, I'm probably going to screw this up, Emgard?
Sounds about right.
He actually worked on the original game.
He was lead story dude, right?
Lead story,
Is that his official title?
Yeah. Yeah.
You do realise that makes him LSD, right?
Lead writer, I believe. I think that's probably his technical term, but I prefer story dude.
Have you been watching The Big Lebowski?
No. Although I could do with a White Russian right now.
Yeah, so he was a part of the original team that worked on the Division 1 with regards to story, and I'm guessing this is going to be like a continuation of that. I think some of the things that he did state is a lot of the games that we see are always post-pandemic. It's something he talks about in the interview, and the fact that they took like a huge decision to make the Division in the first place take place during a pandemic, you never really see, if you know what I mean. If like you watch The Walking Dead, it's already happened, or if you watch like a big film, it's already happened already, hasn't it? Like I'm thinking I suppose the closest to it is probably World War Z.
Yeah.
The film, if you've seen it, Rob.
Is that the one with Brad Pitt, yeah?
Yeah.
No, I think I've seen it.
Good film. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should.
But yeah, it's going to be first glimpse of how the Division world has moved on. I'm waiting for Rob to step in on that because you pointed something out. It's pretty much the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
From after the Division 1, and winter is gone. It's not coming. It's gone. And it's going to be heading to locations outside of New York City whilst exploring the minds of a diverse group of Division agents. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we're getting more story and lore for this game, because I know there is a lot of lore for the Division 1, but you really do have to look for it. I feel it's
spread over a couple of different mediums, isn't it? The lore for the Division 1, and I think not everybody's really cottoned on to the fact that, like you said, you need to track some of it down. So,
I'm playing through Hollow Knight at the minute, and it does a very similar thing. You can go onto the Hollow Knight Reddit, and there's like a whole lore encyclopedia. But if you are playing that game, you'd be like, I guess there's a story, but I don't know what it is. The same with like something, maybe Dark Souls. What's the story? Kill stuff. And I'm not saying there's no story with the Division 1, but it's not at the forefront as much, and it's something that I do hope they kind of sort out a lot more in the sequel. I know I've said that for a long time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering with the release of like the comic books, whether they're going to go down a similar route to the first one, because obviously we had the Collapse book, didn't we? So there was lore inside there. Then there's obviously different sources within the game to find lore. This time they're bringing out the comic book. I think they've already said they're bringing out another novel or something as well. So
there's going to be one. I think there's 2 books coming out. I don't know what. I know one of them's done by James Swallow, and the other one's done by the same guy. I can't remember off the top of my head. Same guy that wrote the survival guide for the Division 1.
Oh, Alex Irvine.
Yeah, and that one will be continuing April Keller's. Is it April Keller? Yeah, April Keller's story but I think it's probably going to be in a proper like novel format this time, rather than the way it was last time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I'm grateful for lore, and you know, more, even more would be even better. But just I hope it's in a bit more of a easier way to access this time. But I mean, time will tell on that, obviously.
Rob,
what?
I'm going to set you off.
Oh no.
Coming from a different game,
Am I going to explode?
you might. What that's got to do with anything? But I mean, if you want.
Sploosh. Oh,
How do you
wrong
feel
G.
the lore in the Division 1 holds up? Or not, like, just like the main story in general for the Division 1 holds up against other games?
What do you mean by
I'm not
other games?
saying, no, I'm not saying like the Division. I'm saying, no, not the Division, Destiny. I'm just saying in general, how do you feel the story holds up? Does it mean anything to you in general, or?
I think in the Division 1 the story's there, but it will easily like go past you, if you know what I mean. Like, but if you're looking for it, it's there. Comparing it to, like, say, Destiny, the first game, all the lore wasn't even in the game. It was on a website.
Yeah. Well, at least that's the difference with the Division, isn't it? The lore is actually in the game. You just have to go looking for it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think we might have a reoccurrence of what happened in the Division 1, where we're probably going to get told more story and lore through these sorts of forms of media with regards to like the novel, the book, the comics?
Sorry, we already know that they're going to attach lore to the exotics as well, which is cool. So, and they're going to have stories that we can follow. But more, like Luke said, more is better. If they put it in the game as well as having extra stuff, then it's just win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think maybe the story suffered last time a little bit due to the fact that you could basically do the missions in any order, couldn't you? I know you still had to like gear up, but as a result, the story kind of felt lacking because it was supposed to be kind of left open for you to decide where you wanted to go. So it's not as linear as, you know, if you go play Uncharted or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I can understand the story between those two games are completely different. But something like Destiny does have a linear story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even though it's like a RPG kind of looter shooter, which is very similar.
Yeah, you have to do the missions in order.
No, but like there is like an overarching plot, which is quite, the way it's presented is like cinematic. Whereas I don't feel the Division 1 did a great job of doing that. And then all the lore's kind of been hidden away. And it's been kind of cool because all the people that have gone looking for it have like created this huge kind of encyclopedia of Division lore. I just hope it's kind of expanded a bit more, a bit easier to access in the sequel.
Yeah.
I seem to remember at some point, didn't they admit that they were surprised at how quickly the community like ate up the storyline? So I've still got my fingers crossed for it being more detailed this time around.
Well, I suppose from another point of view, I know they added like lore for the hunters when West Side Piers got added, but you think like the hunters were added in the first place because they were pretty much like, these look cool. So it wasn't really for story purposes, because I remember for a long time they were like, oh, what's the lore behind it? And I remember, was it Hamish on the State of the Game was like, you'd have to talk to the story department. So
yeah, maybe the popularity of the hunters took them by surprise as well then, because obviously they're supposed to be the bad guys in survival. That was where we first got introduced to them. And maybe we weren't supposed to like them as much as we did. But I think the fact that there wasn't any story behind them just made them more appealing. Like, people wanted to know where these guys came from, literally because there was nothing about them anywhere. It was, oh, here's survival. And by the way, there's a new faction at the end. Good luck.
yeah, I think the way I'm just thinking is I don't feel like there was a huge. I love the gameplay, the mechanics of the Division, but I don't feel like a huge connection to the story because of the way it played out. But I'm hoping that's going to change. I feel like they've definitely gone in a different direction by, you know, the questions that we keep hearing asked. You know, why the Division in DC? Like, it's the head place. It's the central it's the home of the Division. So if anywhere is going to fall, surely that shouldn't. If you have like people like the Division agents out there, and it's like all the questions behind that. Why has it fallen? Who caused it? And if they delve into that and make it so we end up being Sherlock Holmes throughout the whole, game again. But the story is really intriguing and pushes you through it. That would be really fucking awesome. I said before, I'd really want like a cinematic experience that gets people hooked. Because maybe that's why a lot of people left once they got to like level 30 and completed the main game the first time around.
Yeah, you need to want to learn more about the story, don't you?
Okay, so this week, Julian Gerighty was out at UbiDay 2018 in Japan, and he was doing a presentation on the building and an immersive world for the Division 2. I can't talk tonight, so I apologize. Huge credit to Agent Mab on Twitter, who we briefly met at Gamescom, who actually captured the live stream, the whole live stream. So thank you very much to Agent Mab for catching that, because that was a hell of a find. I'm pretty sure she did some subtitles for the video as well. I haven't had a chance to go back and look, but I think she did do subtitles for like the Japanese speaking parts.
Oh, right. If that's the case, then awesome. I mean, the fact that she captured the live stream was good enough work. Because I'll be honest, I didn't even know UbiDay was a thing. And then all of a sudden, like, people on Twitter are kicking off about, oh, Julian Gerighty said this and Julian Gerighty said that. And I'm like, hang on a minute. What? There's a video? Right. Be back in 20 minutes. And then just got sucked into all of it. So yeah, thank you, Mab.
Yeah, thank you. The three things that Julian talked about for actually building the Division 2, first of all, was world logic. Second of all was world building, and 3 was the actual immersive world itself of the Division 2. Before we kind of go any further, I just want to take you guys over to the map for the Division 2. Now, we went to Gamescom. It was one of the first things that I wanted to check out was the map. How do you feel about, obviously now they've shown a little bit more of the open world, because we've only really seen like the open spaces, but we've been told about other areas. How do you feel about the new areas that were actually shown? So we had 6 different kind of varieties given to us, if I'm right.
Yep.
I think it was nature, residential, there was commercial, government,
suburb,
and historic.
How do you think they are going to change up gameplay for the Division 2?
I initially thought, well, that kind of makes sense because you can split them into like factions. But then I think it was you, Luke, that pointed out the fact that some of the areas are like tiny, so that wouldn't really work.
I mean, it could work. I'm not saying it wouldn't. The factions that you put in the smaller areas would just be either less powerful or just smaller factions, or maybe you split one faction over the 2 areas. The 2 smallest ones are suburbs and nature, aren't they?
Yeah.
But, I mean, part of nature is Roosevelt Island, which is its own area that you literally have to cross a bridge to get to. So any faction that lives on Roosevelt Island could be as powerful as you wanted it to be, I suppose. They could basically make Roosevelt Island into a fortress, couldn't they? So
they could also just be designating the type of cover that there's going to be. Like, I don't know, and it also could be related to the loot that's going to drop. You could have set loot to drop in certain areas.
I think going very quickly back to what you said about cover, that is definitely going to make a difference because we don't know how cover's going to work. I mean, I'm guessing there's going to be like fallen objects in like the nature areas that I would assume you can hide behind. But it's going to show like this huge variation between like the streets of New York, which you've kind of got a little bit with like the commercial areas. Yeah. You know, like downtown Washington, D.C. and that. And then you've got the wide open areas of the nature areas, and then you've got like the government buildings. So it's like a variation of. I'm kind of thinking like Rainbow Six Siege. So like the government buildings, it could be more like Siege and things like that. Whereas nature, if I'm thinking, I guess from like PvP, but from that kind of point of view, you can have so many different. I can't think. Like, it's the variation is gonna just be totally different than what we have in the Division 1 now, but then there's nothing else to kind of compare it to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to play different styles in each area, aren't you?
Yeah,
I think the closest thing to New York that you would find on the map at the moment is, like you said, probably a mix between commercial and the residential. So obviously, the streets of New York, you've got a lot of houses and apartment buildings and whatever. Again, going back to survival, you loot a lot of people's apartment blocks and that, don't you, for clothing? I'm really interested to see how they make the internals of the government buildings work, and then obviously the open spaces of all the historic monuments. Because that could be really interesting to like what missions you've got. Because like some of the really open spaces in Washington's historic areas, like the Washington Memorial column, that's just as far as I'm aware from seeing it in movies and stuff, it's just a big open lawn with a massive statue column type building at the end of it. So there's going to be very little cover and stuff in there, isn't there? So
there's a pond in the middle, massive like pond.
Yeah. So how do you take cover in a pond?
And I'm pretty sure I've seen concept art where I think there's a division agent stood on top of a hill. You can see the monument in the background, and like it. Obviously, the hill dips down and then raises up, and all you can see is like gravestones.
Right. Yeah.
Did you see that in the video? I can't remember.
I can't remember seeing it in the video, but I have seen that photo now you mentioned it. So I mean, maybe you could take a quick bit of cover behind a gravestone, but I mean, I'd like to think they would like parts of the environment you could interact with, i.e. if you shoot somebody's gravestone trying to shoot somebody else, it would potentially break and no longer be cover for you. So
well, I just thought it was quite intriguing that like with the prospect of having something like that in the game, like not necessarily to do with gameplay, but the fact that you could be just 1 minute you can be walking through like nature and just come straight like across this graveyard in the middle of the division, which is going to be like really weird, especially when you kind of think about it. We had all his bodies stacked up in DZ 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah,
it's very weird. What did you guys think of the concept art that was released? So there was a few that was released. Obviously, Lincoln Memorial. We said about there was one for Roosevelt Island, the White House, and Air and Space Museum.
The Air and Space Museum looks awesome.
The picture of Roosevelt Island looks it almost looks like a cross between the Dark Zone and like the tented area at the start of West Side Piers.
Yeah. I don't know if I said it to you, Luke, but I did say to Rob, it looks like Camp Hudson when you first arrive.
Yeah, that's it. Camp Hudson, that's the one. Yeah.
But as if it like went to shit.
It's been trashed.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks like it didn't work out as well as it did in New York. And what was the reason for that? So it's kind of intriguing.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say the concept art for the White House looks incredible, like how overgrown all the nature is around the White House. I mean, it's still, going back to what I said about the government buildings, it's still a big old wide open space on the White House lawn there. But I really want to get into like how or what missions or the raid or incursions or whatever we're going to get in the White House. I'd love to know a little bit more details about how we're going to interact with the White House, because there's hundreds of rooms in there. They could be missions upon missions upon missions in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. We need to figure out, because obviously now we've got the map. I'll have to have a look after the show whether the Pentagon is actually on the map or not. Or
it's not. It's over.
Is it just over? Is it
where Roosevelt Island is? It's like on that bit next to that, the white bit that's not in the map.
Damn, that sucks. Well, I can guess they're probably not going to want to put that in a game, are they? It still would be cool though.
The White House, though, there's got to be loads of like little secret rooms and stuff. They've got to put secrets into that.
Oh, what
They've got to.
Is it like White House Down or whatever those movies are called, where they're hiding in the walls, like the original White House structure that's built on steel structures and all that sort of shit, where they can hide in the walls between the old and the new renovated versions.
Borrow from National Treasure and put like secrets.
So you want the Division 2 to be National Treasure?
No,
with extra Nick Cage.
That is cagiest.
Hell yeah.
Rob, what do you think about the Air and Space Museum being part of the raid? I mean, it's got space in the title, so you can get away with anything.
Do you know what that picture reminds me of? BioShock.
Yeah.
It's very BioShock-esque.
It reminds me of NASA when I went to Space Kennedy Center, but
it just reminds me of one of the museums in BioShock.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it does. It looks really cool though. The Air and Space Museum, because that's one of the things they were talking about the other week. It was like, we've got it in there. It's really cool, and now you kind of see that concept or screenshot. It looks pretty fucking awesome, but it's screwed up. But why is it screwed up? Did someone go in and try and destroy it, or is that just aged and decrepit? It's creeping in.
With the crates and stuff, you can see to the left-hand corner there with the welcome center tarp over the top of it. I'm wondering if people moved in to make it some sort of refuge. It's a big old building, isn't it, that gives you plenty of cover from obviously the elements. So
it could, that could be the home of a new faction that we
all that
will hopefully be finding out in pretty soon.
That's the thing though, isn't it, with a screenshot that's giving you as much detail but with such ambiguity as that it could literally be fucking anything. And they've done it on purpose just to wind everybody up. They're like, look what you're getting, but this is it. There's no more details. Talk amongst yourselves.
A faction called Destiny Fanboys live in the Air and Space Museum.
One thing that was confirmed, we are definitely getting the subway in the Division 2 straight up. I know we've kind of saw the trailers. It was kind of alluded to in the trailer that we would be going down there. And yeah, it's been confirmed. Whether that's going to be additional content or not, I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you think they're going to tag an underground style DLC?
No. I think you might get some underground-esque missions. I think they'll be tied into the story this time.
Just thinking, do you think we won't have to load down into that?
No, I hope that there's like a level, a basement level of this map, and that it's just as big as the top level. That'll be awesome.
That could be how they've made it 20-30% bigger or whatever they've said. Like the subway goes underneath and adds 15%, and then obviously the map itself might be a bit bigger in actual physicality. So it could be. I'm just talking shit at the moment. So
I'm just having a look through the photos, some of the screenshots from the stream, and it's mental because like some streets are like open and clear, and then other streets you've got like cars stacked up and there's just rubbish and debris everywhere. It's gonna be insanely different because kind of felt the Division 1, we obviously had like the snow and that, but it was only really up in 7, 8 and 9 that was kind of crowded, wasn't it, with like obviously the dead bodies, and
it was dense.
Yeah, but the rest of the world's kind of blank, isn't it? It wasn't really complete. Like you've got like this huge awesome recreation, but there's nothing there, is there?
It was very samey, wasn't it, from street to street in New York City? Whereas, like you said, you've got really open streets and then really condensed streets. You could literally turn a corner and the gameplay requirements that you need to succeed in whatever activity you're doing could completely turn on their head, couldn't they? Literally just changing street or turning a corner or entering a building, perhaps even.
Oh, there's alongside the Air and Space Museum, there's a comment that says it's become a very interesting area for multiple enemy factions. If that's true, that's going to be interesting. Other things that were talked about as part of the stream, we know now that Arankina will be part of the Division 2. So hopefully we will actually get a follow-up story to what happened to Arankina. Is he causing havoc in Washington, D.C., or is someone else doing it on his behalf? And he's just the mastermind. We don't know. What do you reckon, boys?
Yeah, it's good. Continuation of the story. It's always good.
I'm trying to work out whether I want him to be the bad guy and he's got somebody doing some bidding for him in Washington, D.C., or whether it would be the other way around and somebody in Washington, D.C. is technically his boss and he was doing the bidding. That wouldn't work timeline-wise, would it? So
Well, I'm just thinking that would kind of undercut him I would think that would undercut him as a character in the Division 1 if everything that he did in the Division 1 was called by somebody else.
Yeah, he'd have to be the big bad boss man, wouldn't he, that was getting somebody to do his bidding for him in Washington until he got there, which is obviously why the second game is where it is. But I mean, yeah, like Rob says, continuation of story is a brilliant idea. And even if he's literally the only character that ties in from the first one to the second one, it's what a lot of people were asking for, because the ending of Division 1 was a bit ambiguous as to what did or didn't happen to Arankina. I want some answers, damn it.
Something else that they actually Julian talked about during the conference, they directly imported the GIS and LiDAR data. Does that interest you, Rob? Because this is how they've managed to create a one-to-one copy of Washington, D.C. So they've pulled the GPS data from something like, is it Google Maps, Luke? It was something like that, wasn't it?
I honestly can't remember, mate.
And that's how they've managed to recreate a one-to-one version of the game.
What's LiDAR?
You have to do some research after the show.
I think I know what LiDAR is.
I was hoping you knew since Zoe asked you directly. I thought, oh, here we go. I'm going to learn something.
Yeah, that's... normally, Rob knows this sort of shit off the back of his head. You actually looked at the back of your head.
No, I think I know what LiDAR is. I couldn't explain what it is. But it's similar to radar, I think.
It's a detection system which works on the principle of radar, but uses light from a laser.
Yeah, see, I was right.
Boom.
Like radar. Yeah, that's really cool. That means it'll be really accurately portrayed as Washington, D.C. And we already know it's one-to-one, but like the buildings are going to be spot on. People that have been there will be like, oh yeah, look, I've been there. Much like they did in the first game.
If it's going to be that super accurate, and I am just prophesizing here, I know nothing, but if it's going to be that accurate...
Hail to the prophet.
Thank you.
Jon Snow himself.
Maybe that's why the Pentagon's not on the map, and we might not be allowed to use it at all.
Because
they couldn't
be on the data.
Yeah, they wouldn't be allowed to go in there and look at the rooms.
Which then makes me wonder how much of the White House were actually allowed.
Well, a lot of that's public knowledge anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, but is it? Like all of it?
Yeah, but they can make up like, it's
artistic
fiction.
license.
Yeah. They can change it to what they need it to be.
Yeah.
They can be like, prove us wrong. You go in there and see if it's different. Might be quite difficult.
Do you think we'll see like, in the old 90s action films where whenever the president was in danger, there would be like an underground bunker in the White House?
Yeah, there legit is. There's got to be. I've seen so many films where that's a thing. So.
Hollywood said so it's a fact.
It's ingrained in my brain that that's actually a thing.
I'd actually be amazed if there isn't. But
yeah, there must be like some kind of bomb shelter.
I was trying to think
some
what film.
Safe room.
Be a nuclear fallout shelter, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The only film I can think of where the president goes to like some secret area or bunker is it X-Men 2?
I've not seen that. The one I can think of is where Gerard Butler's trying to save
White House Down.
You and your fucking White House Down.
Yeah, but
you're as bad as him with his Destiny.
It's the two films that came out literally 6 months apart, which are literally the same film, just with different actors in, because Jamie Foxx is in the other one.
Yeah. I don't know what that one's called.
Yeah.
White House Up.
No, White House Down is the Jamie Foxx one. Olympus Has Fallen is the Gerard Butler one.
Olympus Has Fallen.
Because then they did the really bad sequel where London fell instead.
Where did it fall?
Down a hole.
Into the Thames.
Did Gerard Butler catch it?
Oh yeah, he saved it. Thank God.
He saved it from falling in the river.
No, he was the one that kicked it down a hole with his 300 legs. Sparta.
But I think the main take from that is how much the Snowdrop engine has been updated since the Division 1 was created.
Any news on an API? Maybe.
Yeah, if you can import GIS data and LiDAR data, I'm sure you can sort out an API for the Division 2. So we can finally have an app on people's phones for inventory management.
Keep everything crossed, guys.
We need DIM for the Division. DIM is Destiny Item Manager. People don't know.
It would be Division Item Manager.
It would be the Division.
No, because everybody calls it D2. Come on, Rob, get with it.
Okay.
They do. Have you not seen it? They're like, oh, I can't wait for D2 to come out. I'm pretty sure that game already came out.
For like a year.
But yeah, lots of interesting information from the presentation. One thing that we did get confirmed, which I'm sure Luke will be looking forward to in about a month's time.
Oh, yeah.
We will be hearing more information with what's happening on the Dark Zone. On the Dark Zone, in the Dark Zone, in December.
My birthday's in December. December the 14th. So if anybody in the Division wants to release a press release around about the time of my birthday, that'd be a lovely present. Just putting it out there.
It's like they know, Luke.
I mean, maybe they do. But no, I'm hyped for Dark Zone news. I was talking.
You and a lot of other people.
I was talking to Gus about this because Gus slid into my DMs on the Discord.
Dirty bastard.
Yeah, love Gus. And he was talking about all the juicy details that we got, literally everything that we've just been over in the video. And he was saying how he'd posted a few screenshots in the Division Central podcasts Discord. And he was like, oh, I every time they release information, I just want more and more and more. And then he was like, the only thing I don't want to know about is the raid. And this is going to sound stupid because I kind of feel like that with the Dark Zone. I want it to be a surprise. But the other half of me is telling me to stop being stupid and just take as much information as humanly possible. So we've got stuff to talk about on the podcast, and so that I can start theorizing about how good or bad the Dark Zone is going to be. So I don't know how hyped I am about this. I'm really excited to find stuff out, but I know what they give us won't be enough to satisfy my craving. Does that make sense?
Craving.
Because it's still going to be 3.5 months away. Like, if it comes in the middle of December, it's going to be 4 months away till we get the game. So,
but you got to think about it from a different point of view. What happens if they do what they did with respect to gear and weapons? Like, where did they go? Was it E3 when they did the 3-4 day stream?
Yeah.
They might do like a proper full-on Dark Zone stream, and it could be another case of Rob going, they showed us too much.
Yeah.
Which at that point, I'm sure you'd be like, they showed us too much. Because I know you want it kind of kept as a secret.
I'm not sure they could show too much because there's still going to be elements of the Dark Zone that you would only truly understand from playing it, I think. If they're on about changing the game as much as we think they have done from playing the demo, I can't see the Dark Zone being that similar to how it is now. So everything's going to be a fresh slant on the idea.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with everything that's kind of happening with the original Division at the minute and how like the state of the Dark Zone and PvP meta and stuff like that. How that is going to, I don't know. It's freaking what, 6 weeks away till we find out.
Yeah, it depends when in December, because all they said was in December.
You know
but
what I mean.
It's like 6 to 8, isn't it? Because obviously they're going to take a break over Christmas. So
Yeah, it's going to be in the first 2 weeks. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, the minute December comes, people are going to be like, okay, so Dark Zone news.
tapping on their watch like,
Dark Zone
come
news.
on.
F5. I'm pressing F5. Why isn't there any Dark Zone news? It's like
10 past midnight, December 1st.
10 bad miss.
Oh, really? You're going to take the piss out of me for speaking properly? Okay.
Don't. Rob, are you looking forward to it?
What, the Dark Zone news?
The Dark Zone.
Yeah. But I am like, I don't want to know any more about the game, but then it's kind of our job to learn about the game.
Job.
Well, doing a podcast on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm worried it's going to skew my view of the game. Like, we're going to analyze it to death before we even get to play it.
Yeah, I think I said to you guys, it's this weird thing where we've been talking about a game for such a long time, and at some point it's going to be here, and it's going to be like, holy shit, it's, you know, this thing that we've spent all this time talking about.
As they keep drip feeding us information like this, I'm going to be really interested to see what our initial reactions are in March. Because, like, none of us were talking about the game when the first one came out. Like, because you two started SITREP in May, was it?
No, it's April. I think it was like 4 weeks after the game came. Well, we started it, but the episodes might not have been out till May. But we actually had 2 episodes done before the end of April.
Right, so you're playing the game for 4-6 weeks tops before you started the podcast. So you went in fairly open-minded. This time, like Rob says, we're going to be over-analysing every single word they say or write down, aren't we? So,
well, yeah, you look back at the weapons and gear stream from E3, and we were like, oh my god, you know, we were all in chat together, freaking going through the video.
Oh my god, yeah,
like a bunch of nerds, but we love it.
I'm going to try and put my expectations low.
You're going to pretend it's the Suicide Squad of video games.
You played the demo, Rob. You know just how good it is.
Yeah, you're right. Damn it.
That was difficult.
To be fair, Rob, you have no expectations for anything, so that's how you live your life.
No expectations or low expectations? I misheard what you said.
Kind of both,
yeah,
I guess. And, well, I guess talking about getting the game soon, there's a beta starting early next year. That's all we know.
Early.
Yeah, I think we said about it on the podcast. Was it last week or the week before? I know we've discussed the beta a lot, but chances are we will probably get it early January or end of January, sort of February time, because the game isn't out long after that, is it? It's March. It's not long now.
What did they confirm, or is it just theorized that we're getting a pre-order beta and then a sign-up beta? I don't know if they confirmed it or not, but I can potentially see there being 3 betas. You're going to get the pre-order beta. Then the people who signed up during the E3 stuff are going to get a beta, which will literally be the same build. I can't see them changing anything. And then, like every game, you're going to get an open beta. So they need to squeeze those in between January and March and take feedback from it and obviously implement the really, really important stuff. So
there'll be an alpha as well that no one will know about.
I'd be surprised if that's not already happened.
I doubt it.
Really?
It's usually like a month or 2. Well, maybe then. I don't know. Considering what they were saying about the weapons and how like everything's still subject to change, I don't know. It seems like they haven't got final game yet.
That was something interesting that I want to talk to you guys about, actually, that Thylander said on the State of the Game, where they only implemented the rifle weapon category after they'd released the demo.
Yeah.
So they're still obviously making quite substantial changes to the game even now. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen between now and the beta coming out.
But how many people are working on this game? We know there's a lot of people working on this game. There's a lot of man hours going into The Division 2. And if this week has shown anything, you find out, what is it? Trying to think what the name of the freaking company is. But I know Red Dead Redemption 2, the employees who made that game were working 100 hours a week to get that game finished for, what is it, next Friday? And it's probably gone gold now, ready for release, but that's ridiculous. But that's probably to show how much things are in flux right up to just before release.
I think it was Olafur on Twitter announced a little while ago that the guys in the dev team, like within the initial live team, were literally not going home and sleeping on their desks as the game was getting ready to launch, and they were still finding bugs up to and including the night that the first game went live. I can't remember what he said, but they had to release a day one patch to stop the game from crashing if you did a certain thing. Like literally, they found it out as it was going live. The whole team was like running around like headless chickens trying to fix it. I'm sure it was him that said that. So
it's something we definitely take for granted, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Always fixes, and games themselves. The amount of work that actually goes into a game. It's easy for someone to go, well, you can just chuck out that game. And let's be honest, some companies really do. They might work hard on it, but some companies really do just chuck out some games. I mean, look at like all the shovelware that's on iOS devices. And then you get games like The Division, Red Dead Redemption, that, like they're supposed to have so much longevity to it, yet the amount of man hours that goes into making that game must be absolutely insane. But I'll be honest, it doesn't seem like, if they are worked that hard, I do feel sorry for them, but they don't make it seem that way, if that makes sense. They never come across like, so, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It never feels like they're running around batshit crazy. I'm sure they are, but
Well, we don't see that side, do we?
no. We probably see the soft and calm, relaxing side of the Division. And I'll end today with a very quick discussion. Luke, I know you watched the video.
most of.
The whole. Did you see the video of the team going out to Washington DC and speaking with the first responders and stuff like that? What did you think of that video?
It was really interesting, actually, that they got, especially the bits with the special force guy who had to wear the masks that he couldn't be identified because I can't remember if they said he was still active or he just didn't want to be identified. Like, don't put me on camera. People might try and kill me. But
so just a very quick recap. The video that was on the presentation, Rob, because I know you didn't get a chance to watch it. They basically went to Washington DC and they did a load of research. So they met with politicians, special forces, first responders like ambulance, fire, police. They spoke with, I'm trying to think what else it was, but it was like underground service workers as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because they were showing like, anytime I walk past like a manhole cover, I wonder if there's like an entire city down there. I was like, that's cool. But it was like they were talking to all these people as if what would happen if Washington did fall and the Division, like something like a pandemic, like the Division actually happened in Washington DC.
Right.
And it was really good. It was only a couple of minutes long. I'd like to see, on release of the Division 2, I'd love to see like a full length, like half-hour version if they could give us that, because there's a documentary that is really interesting. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's kind of conspiracy, but
have it playing in the background with the credits when you beat the game. That'd be awesome.
We might get something like that on the intro. I was just thinking, because I was just thinking of the intro of the Division 1.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. Right, let's end the show with some questions. So first up, Stonemails G asks, not sure if you've heard that the Locked On Cast team is going to PAX Oz, and they have challenged some other members of the community to a dance-off. Question is, who do you think will win?
literally anybody that's not on the Locked On cast team.
Yeah, agreed.
That's fucking brutal. guys. I'm sure one of them will win. Come on. You gotta give them
Someone will win, Mike.
Yeah, just not on the podcast team. Like literally anybody else that they dance against will win. That's what I meant.
If Mick Dad's going, chance of Mick Dad.
See, I've never seen McDad.
Have you seen him dance?
I've never seen any of them dance. They might be the best dancers in the world, but looking at Wilco, I don't think he's the best dancer in the world.
Okay. Next question comes from Cat Claus. And she asks, serious question for the next episode. Who wears the pants in the SITREP relationship between the three of us?
The answer is none of us wear any pants because we're recording this in our bedrooms. So we're all just naked from the waist down.
Swinging loose.
I may have showed Rob and Luke some balls.
Wow.
I'm going to say it's probably me.
Yeah, Mr. writes the script, does the 1, 2, 3 check, comes up with the discussion every week.
I need to be shot down by Rob.
Yeah, just
thanks, Rob. But I will admit, it's like a mum and dad relationship where me and Luke have to keep Rob in line on a weekly fucking basis.
True story.
Yeah.
And sometimes we fail.
I mean, we can't
Most
do
weeks
anything.
you fail.
I was going to say, we can't do anything about it. I mean, he's fucking miles away. What are you on about? We can't control the beast that is Rob. Second question from Cat Claus also. If you could only choose one story to continue from the Division 1 into the Division 2, which one would you choose? The options are April K. Keener, Fei Lao, The Hunters, Bullet King, etc.
Oh, I like the etc. option. No, there's a
small dog.
A small storyline when you get... Shut up.
I want to know where all the cats went.
There's a storyline where you scan an echo and there's about a guy who jumps off a roof, like a 3-story building, and survives. I want to know more about him.
Well done, Rob.
I don't know what his name is. I just remember that being really interesting.
Wasn't that just an ode to fucking Unbreakable? With Bruce Willis?
Possibly.
They did do little Easter eggs like that, didn't they? Because there are throws out to Breaking Bad and other TV shows in the echoes as well. Which is cool, by the way.
Yeah.
To answer Kat's question, I'm really happy that Aaron Keener's going to be in the sequel. I need to know what happened. It was too ambiguous at the end of Division 1. I'm sorry, but it just was.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm also looking towards a fresh start. I'm not too worried about the characters coming back. I want them to come back completely fresh and give us a better amped up story than what we had with the first game.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if there was literally only Keener and or an extra one or maybe an extra 2 characters that tied over just to give it some like linear progression and then like drift into the new story and expand from there. But
what about if you meet Fei Lao at the end of the storyline and she's walking without crutches?
Oh. That kind of needs to happen. Just to shut everybody up who keeps moaning that she's still got a broken leg after 3 years.
What happens if she gets beat to death by her own crutches?
Wow, you went to a dark place, dude.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
It'd be a plot twist, wouldn't it?
You just see a hunter run around with a crutch.
I was just gonna say twist on a twist. It's actually you beating her to death with her own crutches. Can I just give Cat Claus a real quick shout out before we go on to the next and last question? Because she streams on Twitch. So it's twitch.tv/Cat Claus, which is CATCLAWZZZ. She's fairly new to streaming, but she's fucking hilarious to watch. And if you can make her laugh, she will snort, which is instantly funny. So go check her out.
Next question comes from Seamaster GMT. He says, hey guys, I'm one of those people that feels a bit of a disconnect if I don't know what the people look like when I listen to them on the podcast. Often I will Google the names of the people on the podcast so I can get a look at who I'm listening to. I've been to the SITREP Radio site, and while the pictures you have posted for the three of you are cool, they don't really give a guy like me a straight up chance to know who I'm listening to. He did ask, can you post any shots of your faces? And Luke, I believe you have answered his call.
I did, yes.
So if anyone is interested, we have a Discord, and if you're that interested, you can go see what we look like over there.
The Discord link will be in the show notes, as it is every week.
It's kind of an interesting question, though, isn't it, Rob? Because we used to listen to a podcast for a long time. Do you remember it? The Weekly Planet?
Yeah.
Another Australian podcast.
I still don't know what those guys look like.
You still don't know what they look like?
No. I don't want to know.
It's weird, isn't it?
So you're the opposite then. You don't really care what people on podcasts
No.
look like, whereas obviously Seamaster GMT's just said he needs to know what we look like.
Yeah. Not being funny. I mean, you're doing radio for a reason, right?
Oh, speak for yourself, dude. I'm fucking gorgeous.
Look at Luke sticking to the script.
Yeah, that's how you read a script, Rob.
Very quick shout out. Huh?
I can't see that anywhere on this.
Press S5.
Okay.
Press Alt F4.
Yeah.
No, I better not do that.
Very quick shout out to anyone that's been over on our YouTube giving us feedback and on the Discord as well for the show. It's very much welcome. And very quick shout out to Bron Jones and Mitch Wall over on YouTube for keep commenting. Thank you very much for checking us out over there. Anyway, thank you very much to anyone that sent any questions in this week or feedback. Robert,
Yes.
where can the listeners find this show?
You can find us over at SITREP Radio on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as our personal accounts. Send any questions or feedback for the show to sitradiopod@gmail.com. Does anyone even check that?
Yes.
Oh my god, well done. Or you can find us on the Discord. Link will be in the show notes. We want to hear your thoughts on the news and topics we cover, so be sure to leave a comment and join the discussion in any of those places. Luke?
Send all your questions and feedback to the email address that I haven't checked in 2 years. Hey, Rob. Oh, Jesus. Please leave a review of the show using the podcast app of your choice. We haven't mentioned it yet this week, but we did recently get accepted onto Spotify, so that would be a good place to start. We really do enjoy reading all of your feedback and reviews, as Mike said earlier, so thank you very much for that. And if you are crazy enough to listen all the way to the very end of the show, you will hear all the juicy details about the other awesome shows that are available on the Mash Those Buttons network. Thank you.
Whoopah! We do live stream as often as we can, so if you are interested in dropping by and chatting with us, we do play some of the Division and some other games over at twitch.tv/SITREP Radio. And I do want to give a huge shout out to anyone that has been dropping by the stream. I know we've not been playing the Division, but I've had quite a few people drop by and come in and raid the stream, so it is very much appreciated, and I thank you for that. We have been SITREP Radio. Thank you very much for listening, agents, and we will catch you in next week's episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to a Mash Those Buttons podcast. Visit mashthosebuttons.com for a full podcast schedule.
Cargo secured. Extraction complete.